before we hear the next speaker, when you hear those loud thumps at the side, there's a hockey game going on, and the odd puck hits up near the edge. It's not anything else. Go ahead, miss.
My name is Beverly Pike, and I've been an educator for over 20-some years. I began my career as a teacher of illiterate adults. Then I went into a high school setting and taught mentally and physically disabled children for 18 years. My question is both to the conservative and the liberals, what are you going to do to maintain the all-day kindergarten? I firmly believe that if these adults had all-day kindergarten, they would have been successful as readers at a young age. So I find that there is value in all-day kindergarten. What are the conservatives and liberals going to do to keep this going?
Thank you. It'll be Jim first this time.
I believe both parties have agreed or have in their platform to initiate all-day kindergarten by 2014. We had some questions on whether we could actually afford it, but the program is well underway and it wouldn't be fair to the families that we represent to now take that away. There are studies that show that it's very beneficial to young kids, and we support it. You mentioned handicapped people. I think it goes back to the same, we have to get, there's too many people on benefits. We have to look at trying to get as many people we can get back working in this problem, get our unemployment rates higher where they used to be. And, Ontario used to be the leader in this country, and we now have not province for the first time in our history. We need to get people working so that we have money for the disadvantaged, the people that need help. Right now we don't have money for the people that need help. And the way we're spending money, we won't have money for anybody pretty soon. Our debt now is 10 times that of California, when you look at a per capita debt. And you hear every day how California's bankrupt and insolvent. The only thing Ontario's got for it, Canada can't let it fail. When you get 50 states, you can allow some of them to fail, but in Canada we can't. So, but we have to pay off that debt. Our debt is approaching $18,000 per person. In California, it's $1,600. And you hear the concern down there. We have countries in the world that ignored the debt, and now they're losing their benefits. So you have to start prioritizing where we're spending our money, or we won't have any money left over for anybody.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you very much for the question, Bev. How a question about full-day kindergarten can get into what's happening down in California boggles my mind a little bit. But the direct answer to your question is the Liberals supported full-day kindergarten. We're committed to full-day kindergarten. The Conservatives were opposed to it, called it a boondoggle. Not only are children getting a strong start, they're getting a strong finish. The Conservatives voted against, the upgrades to our school, any of the upgrades that were made during the global economic crisis. The way that we fundamentally handled the global economic crisis, they were opposed to. The massive hole in their platform. You'll hear all kinds of promises. We're going to cut this, and we're going to do that, and we're going to do all these wonderful, fantastic things. They have a massive hole in their platform that they can't account for where they're going to get their money, but I can tell you two places where they're going to get it, because that's where they went to get it before. One is healthcare. Make no mistake about it. And the second is education, because they've done that before. There was a time, not that long ago, when our schools, our classrooms were in chaos. Don't believe me? Look at the statistics. 26 million days lost to teacher strikes. Not one day in the last 8 years have been lost to teacher strikes. Our young children are not only getting a strong start, they're getting a strong finish. Ontario.
Your time is up.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next question, sir.
Hi, my name is Craig Campbell. I'm from Chesterville. None of you have really told us what you would plan to do to improve accountability in government. And a specific issue specific to the tri-counties that I'm thinking of in that regard is the Broad inquiry into sexual abuse and exploitation, mostly of young women, by government officials, provincial government officials in particular, not exclusively. And that inquiry cost remarkable, like about $50 million. Correct me on that, but that's about it. And its conclusion was that senior management of those government organizations were fully aware and failed to act. And so this is a prime issue of, I think, an example of accountability or lack thereof in government. And I think I'd like to hear from the two principal opposition parties, since the government in power failed to deal with the issue in those terms, at least as far as I know.
Name the order you wish to hear the response to whom.
NDP and then Liberal.
All right, Elaine.
Well, I have to say that sexual exploitation of children and sexual abuse of children is a tragedy, and I acknowledge that there was an added degree of tragedy in that civic officials in almost every public service, the police, the hospitals, the schools, the churches, and sometimes were complicit, were actually guilty, and when they weren't, they covered up the situation. We did have a massive and very expensive inquiry in Cornwall, and to cover years, you know, a generation of offenses and cover-ups, and that is the way forward. Coming out of that, the inquiry, we realized what mistakes had been made, and there were recommendations made. But in the meantime, you have to acknowledge that in the 20 years, or 30 years even, from the abuse to the time when there was an inquiry, systems changed. I know as a teacher in school, we didn't have a law when, like 30 years ago, that if you suspected abuse, like hopefully a teacher would step up and say what they thought. But now, by law, a teacher has to. So we have put some systems in place. Unfortunately, society is not perfect. And you know, you fix one area and somehow an abuser might find another avenue to exploit or abuse. We just all have to be vigilant. This isn't a government problem, this is a social problem. We all have a part to play in it. Thank you.
Mark? Oh, Jim, sorry, yes.
I would have to agree with Elaine on this one. Child abuse, physical elder abuse is something that's been in our societies for thousands of years. It's certainly getting a lot more exposure now, but it really comes down to the neighbors, the people that are in the community, to have an eye out, watch out for people. And I guess I agree that the law they have, that if you're aware but it don't turn in, you can be criminally charged. And I know of a couple of cases in our area that went on for some time before it was found out. Neighbors didn't know. School bus drivers, you know, when it was brought up, they all of a sudden clicked in that, oh yes, the child never had lunch. It was only picked up by accident. In this one case that I know, and when it was picked up by the Ontario group, that person had left Quebec, and it was the worst case of abuse in Quebec. They were looking for them. All of this to say you can move around, move into a community. I think that the large inquiry in Cornwall showed that it wasn't a conspiracy, it's just the way things are. But on our party, we're looking to get tough on this crime. We're looking at making sure that it doesn't happen again, giving police the tools that allow them to track these people when they are put out on probation. You know, we have to make sure they don't reoccur. At least if they do, they give them, the police, the tools, if they want to use them, to track these people. Because there's nothing worse than having them out there and have them move around. This person in Quebec was almost caught there, moved into Ontario under the radar, and reoffended here to a great degree. When they moved in, they couldn't believe how bad it was with the torture. It wasn't sexual, it was just the torture of these kids. It's a sad thing, but you know, it really comes back to the community. You have to look, see if you see something suspicious, have a look at it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
My name is Emily Madsen, and I now live in Cornwall. Earlier this year, I'd like to address this question to Mr. McDonnell and Mr. McDonald. Earlier this year, Conservatives Lisa MacLeod and Christine Elliott came down to our Winchester District Memorial Hospital. They accused the Liberals of putting the emergency room on the chopping block. They were roundly criticized when they failed to produce evidence of any such decision. I'm a senior, depending increasingly on our healthcare system. Under the Mike Harris government, Tim Hudak helped to shut down 28 hospitals. Now I believe that past behavior predicts future behavior. How can we trust the Conservatives to not do this again?
Thank you. Is the question clear enough?
I think so.
Thank you, Jim.
Well, you can trust us because the PC party has a reputation for being trusted. If you remember back in those days, the Bob Rae government essentially bankrupted Ontario. And Mike Harris got in on the program of fixing government, making cuts that were required. And that's what he did. He didn't get in and change his mind. He didn't get in like our Liberal, Dalton McGeady has got in and made all kinds of promises without following. Now Tim Hudak promises that he's going to fix the system. And if you look at the healthcare spending forecast from the Liberal government, they don't cover the increases in labor increases they've already signed. So if you're not going to make cuts, how are you going to do it? Because you've guaranteed wages that are more than what money you're putting into the system. And Mr. McDonald has talked about the $14 billion hole. He keeps mentioning that. Independent auditors have verified that our cash flow is the same as the Liberals. It's there. The Auditor General did comment that he found that the Liberal spending was much more aggressive than he thought they could do. He didn't think they could reach their goals. And on the Winchester case, finally, after months of trying to get information from the ministry, the ombudsman ordered the Liberal government to turn over records. That process is still in place. They're delivering truckload after truckload of records. It won't happen, it won't complete till after the election for some reason, as you can imagine. So we can't get down to the paperwork that would tell us that Winchester was actually closing. And the reason they came in here, because they were tipped off by some people inside the hospital organization that this was happening. So you might give Lisa MacLeod some credit for saving your emergency room. And if this was not the case, why don't they turn the records over to us?
Thank you. Mark?
Thank you very much for the question, and I do know that a lot of people come up from Cornwall to visit the hospital here in Winchester, either to go to the emergency department or go there for services, or to visit people in there, and I've been there myself. And I think the people of Winchester deserve a lot of credit, because it's not only the government, provincial and federal government, that helped make that happen. The people of Winchester made that happen. And they deserve a lot of credit for that. Healthcare, as we move forward, and and I said at the beginning in my opening statements, you're going to hear lots of facts and figures and lots of he said this, and you know, we put this amount of money into it, and they put that amount of money into it. What I'm asking people is to look for yourself and judge for yourself. Don't go by what I say, don't go by what anybody else says, just look for yourself. And when you look around the corner at the Winchester Hospital, the Ontario Liberal Party, along with the federal government and the people of Winchester, put that hospital there. They voted against it. They can give you all the excuses that they want. They were opposed to it. What they were opposed to, and this is important, because it's what's happening right now on a global scale, was the way that Ontario handled the global economic crisis. What we said was you have to spend money on infrastructure. You have to build hospitals. You have to build schools. You have to give money to South Dundas. You have to give money to Iroquois. That's where you have to spend your money. They, both parties, said no, that's not the way to do it. That's not the way to do it. So they can tell you all they want. They voted against it. They were opposed to it. And I think that whenever you look at... That's it?
Time.
Thank you very much for the question.
Thank you. Next question, sir.
Thank you, Jamie Gilson, CY Radio, Cornwall Free News. This question is addressed to Mayor McDonnell. Mayor McDonnell, you appeared with Steve Clark in Cornwall complaining about taxes, yet in your own township you attempted to raise water taxes for multi-residential units by almost 300%. You also appeared in Cornwall with Lisa MacLeod and complained and rallied against the $10,000 tax credit for newly arrived Canadians, while you yourself, talking about the importance of keeping jobs in Ontario, have your CAO be a resident of Quebec, sending his property and income taxes to Quebec. My question to you, sir, is how do you ask people to vote for you on one thing and have your actions be completely the opposite? Thank you.
Jim.
I find that quite misleading. First of all, on the water issue, there's a couple issues here. It was brought to our attention by a number of residents that some people in the village of Lancaster did not have water meters. So we identified, we did some research, found the number of people that didn't have water meters, and we issued a bylaw that would require everybody to install water meters and pay the full rate. There's about 750 users in the two systems. There were about 20 or say 30 people that had no water meters. So yes, if you were part of a triplex, your water rates went up because you were living off the person at the end. But it's just a matter of fairness. When it was identified to us, it was under the old village of Lancaster. We didn't know about them. So yes, we took steps to put them in place. We issued letters to everybody involved in early March of June, and 2 weeks ago we actually brought the bylaw. So it's like finding a house that has no hydro meter. You're going to get a hydro meter installed. On the other issue, which was the